welcome to another episode of Heat Check. As always, so much to talk about on our show today. My name's Joel Peterson. His name's Michael Houben. Mick, last time we went to air, this time last week, there was Montrezl Harrell signing with Adelaide. We were talking about it as we were going to air. Hopefully, people can just keep things a little bit calmer this week. We'll deal with what we've got here on the rundown.
I'm looking forward to checking my phone in about 30 minutes and finding out everything that's happening this week for sure.
Yeah, well, there'll be plenty coming your way as part of our episode today. We've got a whole heap of stuff to talk about. We're going to start with the NBA Finals, though, because we know that there's two Aussies. We're guaranteed to have another Aussie winning an NBA championship. Johnny Furphy and Alex Ducas, of course, the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder in action in the NBA Finals. This is really, really exciting for Australian hoops.
Awesome to know that whatever happens, we're going to get a new NBA champion. It's so exciting for these guys. Obviously, guys that probably won't play more than, perhaps the garbage minutes, of course. But what a fantastic experience. So young in their career to experience winning at this level. I'm sure it's going to be a run that neither guy is going to forget, but it's also going to inform them as professionals going forward in terms of their expectations, their work ethic, but also those winning habits and culture as well.
And we've seen some glimpses from both of them. I mean, Johnny Furphy, particularly in some of the stuff that he's done at G League level and that kind of thing. So there's a big opportunity there. And they'll join a list of really impressive names in terms of the Aussies that have won NBA titles. So you look there, we know the Luke Longley resume, the GOAT, Andrew Gaze, Aaron Baines, Paddy Mills, Andrew Bogut, Matthew Dellavedova, and most recently Jack White. So we'll have another name to add to the bottom of that list. Which one do you think it'll be, Ducas or Furphy?
Look, personally, I'm rooting for Indiana, but I think that Ducas is going to go get this ring. OKC are hard to stop.
Okay. Did you have that finals matchup on your bingo card at the start of the year?
Absolutely not. Indiana were not on my radar, but I love them. I hope they go all the way.
Yeah, they are. They're a fun team to watch. So NBA Finals is going to be very, very good and plenty of Aussie interest in that, no doubt. Staying in the States, another Aussie doing really good things is Alex Higgins-Titcher, who's been a really interesting name to watch at the back end of the NBL season and over the last couple of years. He's earned an opportunity at minicamp level with the Golden State Warriors, which is just another step in his continued development.
What a fantastic reward for a massive 12 months that he has had. As we touched on, Cairns was his first NBL opportunity at 24 years old. Before then, he'd only been playing at the NBL 1 level, had a short stint in the BAL, but we know he was a bright spot in what was a pretty tough season for Cairns. He came off the bench, injected so much energy into that group. It was clear Adam Ford loved him, and now he's going to get a fantastic experience to be around NBA level guys.
Why? Why is this guy so appealing?
Well, I think despite his age, he's still only really scratching the surface of what he can achieve as a player. He's someone that has some NBA level qualities. He's really athletic, he plays really hard, and once that offensive skill set is going to continue to refine, there's still a lot of upside to be tapped into. You mentioned that journey over the last couple of years, of course, sort of started at NBL 1 level. He was an all-star with the NOS Bulls in the NBL 1 West. He goes to the BAL, spends a cup of coffee there, and then DP with the Cairns Taipans. The minutes aren't really there for him to start the season. Came on really strong sort of from the midpoint of the season onward. 3x3, full roster spot at Cairns, Golden State Warriors camp. It just seems like this trajectory is only going up. It's a perfect example of taking every opportunity by the horns. He's someone, whenever he gets on the court, he is expending every possible ounce of energy. He's there playing hard, and he's forcing coaches to want to play him even more. You have to maximise those minutes, and that's what he's done.
And he's a favourite of plenty of people around the league. So all the very best to Alex Higgins-Titcher with what comes next. And we certainly hope to see him back in the NBL, but we just hope to see him playing good basketball anywhere. We might have had a shot of the year contender this week in the NBL 1. Some pretty remarkable stuff. This one from Joondalup and Georgia Smith to ice the game. That's pretty impressive.
Incredible. She reached into her bag and she pulled out the Josh Giddey special. Wasn't it incredible to get that steal against her former team? I can't think of a better moment for a team, and then also for the other team. How deflating to lose on those terms.
So OT, you'll win it by 3. A little bit of the backstory here. So they were down by 17 at one point in that game, Joondalup. You mentioned it's her former team, so she's played sort of almost half her career with the Suns, previously to going over to the Wolves. I think in the fourth quarter and overtime, she hit 4 of her 5 3-pointers in the game, so it dragged them back and then finished it off with the game. It's going to take a lot to beat that as far as, you know, shot of the year in any level of basketball.
You mentioned as well, it was one of many threes that she had in that game, and she shot it with form as well. So I'm not giving that as a fluke. I think that was, you know, destined to go in.
That was very deliberate. That was a sort of a standing start, really put it up there. So, yeah, fair play to Georgia Smith. That was very, very impressive indeed. Plenty of NBL 1 talent also selected this week in an NBL Select team that's going to play in Japan. So this is part of the growing partnership between the NBL and the Japanese B League, which we know is a real area of strength and crossover in recent teams. And you can see this NBL Select team. There's a whole host of different names on there. So players who've really proven themselves over the last couple of years, players coming back from injury, the likes of Sam McDaniel. This is, you know, there's players of all experience levels and ages here. It's a really interesting squad.
A really eclectic mix of players from all across the league. As you said, different ages and stages, NBL role players from every which corner of the globe. I think this is so awesome to see, you know, the synergies between the Japanese B League and the Australian NBL continue to grow. And broadly speaking, the NBL is continuing to cross-pollinate between different international leagues beyond the NBA as well. So I'm really enjoying that. I think the one name that really stands out on this roster is Josh Bannon. I think he's going to emerge as a star within these games. And of course, how thankful that we have him locked up with the JJs, because I'm scared. Japan's stealing all our bigs right now.
Yes, he could be a prime target. And you've got guys like Bannon who had an injury interrupted really last couple of seasons. Sam McDaniel, we know, lost his entire NBL season to injury. Also, DJ Mitchell, who we haven't seen in a little while, coming back to the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. We'll touch on him a little bit later in our show. And then you've got guys looking for opportunity, you know, Ketchalier, Jason Spurgeon, these younger players, Todd Withers, you know, played a really important role with the Perth Wildcats. So there's a little bit of everyone and something for everyone here. Like
you touched on, I think this is a great momentum builder for these guys as a prelude for their NBL season.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the very best. We'll keep you across that as it unfolds here on Heat Check, how that NBL Select team goes against the B League coming up in Japan in not too far away. There's been plenty of NBL talent doing good things over at Eurocamp recently as well. Of course, our Next Stars team, guided by the great Liam Santamaria, has been over there going very nicely indeed. Plenty of NBL talent, some up-and-comers. We spoke about Antonio Brown on this show last week as one of the sort of the future names that could be in the ranks of Australian basketball. And there are a couple of standout performances that we saw. Roman Cialipa, another name we've discussed a lot on this program. We've just been waiting for the glimpses. He certainly showed them in that first game, you know, but plenty of highlights across the board here, which was really impressive.
Yeah, as a team, this group did fantastically. And what I enjoyed, different guys stepped up in different games. We saw Owen Foxwell lead the scoring in the first game. I thought it was fantastic to see the relative vet of the group do so well in his opening game. And as you touched on, Roman Cialipa, broadly speaking, had a really productive week. We can see that he was physically, you know, perfectly fit for this level of competition. And it'll be intriguing to see now that this is over, do we hear about his next move soon?
We'll see a few individual highlights shortly. I was intrigued by the numbers. So you have a look at this. Roman Cialipa out there in the time-honoured number 115 for the Next Stars team, which you've now got to be able to identify them somewhere. But, I mean, it's just good to see this guy back out on the court.
Yeah, a little tricky for the refs to sort of signal those foul counts
yes.
With 115, right? But he was fantastic. I think one thing that I took away from it, he looks a bit bulkier than usual. He looks even stronger. We already knew that he was incredibly strong, but he's just a man amongst boys right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary prospect. Malik Lewis, I mean, really interesting to see where he goes next, but he was in a position where he goes and takes this opportunity and sort of had to do everything he could, and he did. He was terrific, you know, named to the all-tournament team, just about put it all out there on the table.
That's right. He's right on the fringe of that top 60. Will he get drafted? Won't he? It's really hard to tell, but he put his best foot forward here. He impressed on both sides of the ball, was named all camp. Now, does that move the needle? Maybe, maybe not. We saw Taron Armstrong get awarded that last year. He didn't get drafted. But it's not just about getting a name called on draft night. It's also about, you know, does it increase my chances for a two-way? And does it potentially, you know, lead to open doors down the road?
Yeah, of course, there's opportunities all around the world for people like Malik Lewis. One name we've highlighted on this program previously is Reyne Smith, who I know you're a really big fan of, the sharpshooter. And he really showed out toward the end of this. So 28 points in Game 3. He was raining threes in from everywhere, pardon the pun. and it was a real showcase of what he can do.
Yeah, he was relatively quiet against the Next Stars team, but in this final game, 8 threes from every which possible way. He is a world-class shooter. And very intriguing as well that he did this in front of European scouts as well, because he's assessing as a free agent right now, do I come to the NBL? Do I potentially go to Europe? He could potentially get a G League opportunity as well. So there are many options for him, and I think this has definitely helped his European stock.
Yeah, and you know, teams all over the world are looking for players who can do what he does best. So he will be a name that I reckon is under serious consideration by teams from all levels of global hoops.
Most definitely. And, you know, I think the more settings he plays in and the more settings that he excels in, the more he's going to win people over, because there are some stereotypes to overcome. He's a 6'1" shooting guard. I think that kind of scares some people off. But hey, Elijah Pepper's in a similar mould. Dejan Vasiljevic is in a similar mould. And at the end of the day, he shoots as well as anybody in the world. So I think he'd be a fantastic NBL contributor, but, you know, maybe he's destined for more as well.
Play to your strengths, Reyne. Play to your strengths. Let's talk about a couple of players who are going to be great NBL contributors this season. There's a couple of new names, or one new name, one returning name among those coming back to the NBL. Amari Moore is the most recent signing for the South East Melbourne Phoenix. He's previously been coached by Josh King. What do you like about this signing as an import for South East Melbourne?
I hadn't seen too much of Amari Moore up to this point, but the more that I see, the more that I get excited, Joel. I think he is a fantastic talent. We've seen South East Melbourne have a fantastic run picking up import point guards, and I think he could be the best one yet. He's a fantastic operator, has impressed at some very high levels of international competition, and he's a big point guard as well.
Yeah, well, your verbosity aside, I like the fact that you're excited about him. So what do you think he does in a Josh King system? Like, he seems like a really, a perfect fit for what he tries to do.
I think there's so many things to like about him. Firstly, as I said, he's really big, and he's someone that, firstly, can play when he's going against our opposition import point guards. We have some fantastic point guards in this league, but they're generally quite undersized. Imagine the way that he'll be able to take advantage of his size on the offensive end of the floor. Now, the other advantage to the size is you can slide him across to the 2. He is a capable shooter, and they've got Owen Foxwell waiting in the wings as well. He's someone they're probably going to want to play more than 20 minutes a game. He's going to be a really valuable contributor, and to be able to do that, they want to play both guys together. So I think there's a fantastic fit there. He's a really fantastic shot creator off the ball, and the icing on the cake, which Josh King will really love, is a great on-ball defender as well with his size and his anticipation.
The tenacity of him and Owen Foxwell. Good luck getting through that South East Melbourne backcourt this season.
Yeah, again, two-way players, right? We know Owen's kind of started as a defensive player. He's turned himself into a two-way player. Amari is someone who, defensively, he is a big-time generator of steals and blocks as a guard. You don't see that too often, but just his size and length has such an immediate impact. And then again, the ability to go score, get a bucket. I think he's going to be an on-ball creator, someone that's going to put up a lot of points this season.
Let's stay with the Phoenix. DJ Mitchell, we said we'd speak about a little bit more. Of course, we know him from the Brisbane Bullets. We know him from the family connection through the NBL, through his father as well. He's most recently been playing with Manchester over in the UK, but he is an intriguing name coming into this team because he's been very productive at his best. Do you think he can find it under Josh King?
Absolutely, and he's playing good basketball, 15 points a game over in the British League. We know it's probably not the strongest international league in the world, but very productive nonetheless. And we've seen him at every level. He has all the tools. He's 6'8", he can really shoot the 3, he's athletic, he's strong. I think this could be the perfect marriage. Josh King is the sort of guy that is going to bring out the best in him, help him embrace his NBL role, and if he buys in, there's a lot of value to be had.
And we know that he's a really dynamic player, so he provides that little point of difference for this Phoenix roster.
Absolutely. All he has to do is defend multiple positions at a high level, put in a lot of effort, and shoot the 3 at a high level, those spot-up 3s. If he is able to carve out that niche, he's going to be a really valuable contributor.
One of my absolute favourite players, Will Magnay, has just wrapped up a season over in Turkey. It was great to see him staying healthy throughout that course. We know, of course, he's such an integral part of the Jack Jumpers roster. It was nice to see him playing some good basketball, staying out there on the floor and getting ready for what is hopefully a really big NBL campaign.
Well, this wasn't going to be a scenario where he was going to come in, he was going to put up massive stats, and we were going to say, wow, Will has really evolved his game. But he did what we know best, and that's defensively, getting on the boards, all the dirty work. He's a difference maker. He didn't play an immense amount of minutes, so the box score numbers aren't gaudy, But just for him to be healthy and have a bit of momentum coming into the NBL season is really exciting.
Yep. It's our weekly stop in Puerto Rico. We head there because it's very cold in Australia in most of Australia, southern part of Australia at this time of the year. It's been pretty cold in our part of the world recently, so we like to go and warm up along the shoreline of that beautiful island nation. And the man who caused us a little bit of grief by upsetting the apple cart last week, thanks a lot, Montrez, for signing while we were on air. He's been doing nicely. Double-double last week playing for Carolina and just staking his claim to a big NBL return.
Yeah, Trez has been fantastic. He's played 6 games over there now, and his most recent one was his best, 22 points and 6 rebounds. We know how he does it. He's a big personality, doing lots of work in the post there. I'm really excited, obviously, to see him with Adelaide. I'm really excited to see him with another Puerto Rican player right now, Bryce Cotton. What a combination that is going to be. I think in some respects they're chalk and cheese as far as personality goes, but I think that could bring the best out of each other. I think Trez's personality is going to help Bryce's revenge tour.
Yes, well, I mean, Trez will certainly amplify Bryce's revenge tour, I think, but what a combination they will be in terms of the energy and the excitement that they bring, but then just the way they could potentially play off one another too.
2 of the most exciting talents in the NBL. I mean, Bryce is the most exciting talent in the NBL, but we know Trez from a pure talent standpoint is fantastic. Now, if they are able to play off for each other a little bit more, it'll be interesting to see what the dynamic's like. I think Trez really benefited from a pass-first point guard like Kendrick Davis when he wanted to be in that role. So it will be a little bit different seeing how Adelaide's guards play out, whether Bryce is that point guard. Obviously, he's more of a scorer, but the firepower between the both of them is immense.
Yes, Montrez Harrell and Isaac Humphries setting screens for Bryce Cotton and DJ is going to be something very, very interesting to watch, and throw the likes of Flynn Cameron in there. It's going to be a fascinating Adelaide roster. One big move that's landed in the last couple of days is that Milton Doyle, our man Milton from Puerto Rico, of course, he's playing at Maigas at the moment with Tyrell Harrison and Sam Wardenberg. You see him in action here throwing one down. He's signing with Melbourne United. He's been playing pretty well over there in Puerto Rico as part of that trio. Maybe he hasn't had the sort of star performances that Tyrell Harrison is, but showing enough that Melbourne could be excited about what they're getting.
We know he had a little bit of a down year in Tassie last season, didn't play to his best. There were some injuries involved in that, but what we're seeing in Puerto Rico right now is exactly what Melbourne United want from him. He has had a stretch of 5 games where he scored 20 plus this month, so he's shooting the ball really well. That's fantastic to see. But in his most recent game, 10 assists as well. And I think this is key because you think about their move from Ian Clark to Milton Doyle. They've obviously lost Matthew Dellavedova. The biggest key there is how do you make up the playmaking that Matthew Dellavedova has? How do you sort of make up for that? Obviously, they're leaning into Shea Illy a little bit more at the point guard spot. But if he gets injured, who's playing the point? It's probably Milton Doyle.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating fit. Do you think it works for Melbourne?
I think it's a great move. It's a really smart transition, and he's a proven operator in the NBL.
Yeah, so he's going to be someone to really watch when he lands with Melbourne United, just to see how that all shakes out. Another one of Adelaide's signings, of course, going into this season is Matt Kenyon, who's been doing some good things in the NBL 1 North. Had a massive game at the weekend. This was an absolute cracker between Logan and Ipswich. So final score was something like 121 to 117. Logan scored 23 points in only the overtime period, and he had 45, 11 and 16. 20 of 27 at the free throw line. That's a hell of an advertisement.
It's really incredible to see someone whose reputation at the NBL level is a defensive stopper, you know, a hustle guy, to go out and flex his scoring muscle a little bit in the NBL 1 competition. He was someone, when I was watching these highlights, he didn't really extend outside of his skill set too much. He was just doing what he does really well. He was attacking the rim with a lot of confidence, as you said, getting to the free throw line at will, and, you know, getting out in transition and getting some cuts off the ball as well. Things that will really translate to the NBL level as well.
Yeah, only hit the 1-3, but only needed to, and led Logan to a win, which was very, very impressive. Jock Perry's another name who's doing good things as well. He continues to sort of attract attention, maybe become an option for some NBL 1 teams. Another interesting name to keep an eye on.
He's had a really intriguing run over the last few years. We probably first remember him as a DP for the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. The season after then, he tore his ACL, unfortunately. That was a big setback. Since he's had a few seasons with Diamond Valley, he has had some short stints in Malaysia and India as well, and playing really good basketball. I think there is definitely some value and some upside for him to be an NBL roster player. He's someone who has some very strong strengths and some very limiting weaknesses in some sense. If we go to the strengths, he's a fantastic shooter. He's one of the best stretch bigs in the league. Now, conversely, just because of his size, he's like 7'1", 7'2", it means there's a little limited guarding in space. But, that's the trade-off you take. And I think, you can never have too many bigs, you can never have too much shooting, and Jock definitely brings that to the table.
And one thing we know from Jock Landale is you can never have too many big blokes named Jock, because they'll give you everything that they've got. Jock Perry is certainly one of those. And another name you're really keen on is Ethan Elliott. He's playing with Joondalup at the moment in the NBL1 West. He's headed off to college after this season, but he's been really, really productive.
Yeah, just his West form alone is worth talking about. He's averaging around about 25 and 5 as a 20-year-old in the competition. He's someone that's super quick. He's a fantastic pure point guard, can score at multiple levels and facilitate. But the interesting wrinkle to this story, he's just committed to college a little late in the game. As I said, 20 years old. He's going to Northern Kentucky in the Horizon League. I think that's going to be a really exciting opportunity for him.
And you go to one of those schools, and we've seen it a number of times with the way the transfer portal works now. You can pick up that opportunity and maybe set your sights on bigger things in years to come.
Well, that's right. College is a totally different opportunity to what it was a couple of years ago. Obviously, the NIL is one factor, but also guys coming in a little later. Colleges are looking for those ready-made performers, and I think Ethan is primed to come in and have an immediate role.
We're going to finish with some WNBL action. Of course, free agency has started in the WNBL as we build up to the 25-26 season, what's going to be a very exciting one. One of the biggest names on the board as far as free agency goes is Izzy Borlase, who's been playing her trade with the Melbourne Tigers most recently in the NBL1. We know, of course, she's sort of working her way up to that WNBA opportunity. Not quite sure where she will land as yet, but she is, a marquee name that clubs are going to be going after.
Well, whoever lands her, obviously an emerging talent, still so youthful, but, an all WNBL performer in her youth. She's an absolute class act. She's so hard to stop with her size as a guard at the rim. I'm sure you'd like to see her in Bendigo.
Just a little bit. And that's been thrown out there that's where she may land. Of course, no Sammy Whitcomb for the Bendigo Spirit in the upcoming season. She's going to be pursuing other opportunities, but for any club to land one of the premier young players in Australian basketball, who, as you mentioned, has been super productive at this, proven at this level, she will be a very, very big signature. We've spoken about Agnes Eminopu in recent weeks, of course, her Elite 8 run with TCU in the NCAA tournament. She's now signed with the Sydney Flames on a multi-year deal there. So talented player out of Ocean Grove and set for a really big opportunity in Sydney. Yeah,
this is really exciting. She's reuniting with Coach Guy Malloy, someone she trained with prior to college, and just seeing her evolution throughout college. She came in as a bit of a defensive stopper, someone that was bringing that hustle, that energy, but she's expanded her offensive game. We touched upon that 23-point game she had in the round of 32 against Louisville. Yep. I think that was a college career high, but just to see her offensive game expand, get more confident, I think she's going to be a really versatile threat for this team.
And as you see, doing some good things with the Knox Raiders in the NBL1 South at the moment as well. And of course, one of our contributors here on basketball.com.au, our very own Rebecca Cole, is another name who sort of exploring options and looks like might be headed for a change of scenery. One of the really a club legend of the Southside Flyers, it's got to be said, and NBL1 Finals MVP most recently with Waverley, and again another signature that will be prized in this free agency period.
Yeah, the absolute face of the Flyers. She's done wonders for that team since the rebrand, but exciting times for her, exploring her free agency capabilities. Obviously, going to be a very highly sought after commodity, and hopefully she's somewhere close enough that she can still be on the NBL1 show with you.
Yes, that'd be nice. Well, I'm sure we'll find a way to make it work, but we know that she can absolutely fill it up, and those names and more are going to be so interesting to watch as free agency for the WNBL unfolds. No doubt there's some really big moves ahead of the 25-26 season. That's about all we've got time for here on Heat Check. Mick, as always, great to see you. Good to hear you rhyming and just sort of throwing some things out there. I look forward to more next week.
I was a poet and I didn't even know it, Joel.
Very good. Very good. That's the oldest one in the book. Thanks for your company as well. We'll see you next week here on Heat Check.